first time I heard a Klipschorn, I was in awe. And when I heard that, I said, that is the closest to live I've ever heard. And not by just a little, by a lot. It's not subtle. It kind of grabs you by the throat, pulls you in. You turn into a willing participant whether you like it or not. Since Paul started the company in '46, the K-horn never gone out of production. It's always been in production. The low frequency enclosure, the reality of it is it hasn't changed much since Paul designed it. One of the first things that he wanted was to enclose the walls, to enclose the horn, not rely on the corner of a room to enclose the horn and finish it. When you push two speakers into a corner that have to be in the corner, how wide they're apart now sets how far you have to sit back to get to enjoy the imaging. And the reality of it is, because of the way we enclose the backs and the way we reinforce, those panels, the base is nice, solid, and tight. And now you don't have to put them right over in the corner. You can pull them out, you can tow them in. It takes the variability out of it. A K-horn in a room response, you can yield 106, 107 dB. Because the LF section is efficient, we've always been looking for a tweeter that had the output that could keep up and still have headroom too. Aluminum is a lot lighter, but you still get current. The copper clad aluminum allows basically the best of both worlds. But for a tweeter, it's a very lightweight, efficient, sensitive tweeter, nice bandwidth, good power handling, coupled to that horn. Lots of detail. The polyamide tweeter diaphragm doesn't move very much, doesn't overhang because it's very lightweight. It's a neo magnet, a lot of BL in the gap. You get a lot of strength. Oh, by the way, too, it sounds good. It sounds very good. The phasing plug has a lot to say about coverage patterns, the extension on the top end, the fact that we get the sensitivity that we get. It's using a very high efficient magnet structure and a lightweight assembly. So all those things together get it out to 20K, but the phasing plug is probably the most dominant. Gives us a nice compression ratio and still allows us to go out past 20K. So it's a very good geometry on it. The redesigned input panel, just basically, we made it easier. That's really the bottom line. These binding posts are nice, except large gauge wire. It's just a lot easier to work with than what we had before. So AudioQuest makes a nice big gauge wire. And so we decided that here's what we want and here's what these guys like to use. So why not? I also had the opportunity to get Paul's notebooks on networks. Paul had his own workstation. And he was always playing with passive networks, topologies, different slopes. And one in particular was the M-derived filter. It's like a 3-pole with a trap in it. It gives it a very steep slope. What Paul began to realize is that steeper slopes make the driver more efficient in their bandwidth. When Paul decided that he could optimize the drivers better by shutting them off sooner, he realized that made the speaker more efficient, made the driver be more efficient by working in its associated bandwidth. It made sense. All you're doing is decreasing the interference band between those two drivers. 6 dB slopes, it's a lot of interference band because the mid-range is still operating here, even though it's down an output, it's still affecting the frequency response, but it's still moving here too, and the woofer vice versa. All we're doing is decreasing that interference bandwidth. We're closing it up. And so the smaller it gets, the better. And the only way you can do that is to have steep slopes. You want to match the total phase of the driver network. So that way when they cross over, you're trying to make them hand off as elegantly as possible, minimizing that interference band. And so the K-horn, this AK6 network, designed and engineered and built in Hope, Arkansas. It has Paul's fingerprints all over it. This is what Paul wanted to do if he was still alive. It's his fingerprints. I'm just his right hand man. I just wish you could hear it. I think you'd be pleased.